Evan Carter had traveled through many strange places in his life, but nothing compared to the glowing sky of Varelia as his ship slowly landed on the platform. The light above him shifted from blue to silver, and the clouds looked like soft waves drifting across the air. Even though he had trained for weeks before coming here, he still felt nervous. Humans and Varelians had almost fallen into conflict many times, and now he was the one chosen to help prevent it. He kept repeating to himself that he needed to stay calm, stay respectful, and stay alert. But deep inside, he knew this meeting would be the most important moment of his life. A group of Varelian guards stood waiting for him. They were tall, elegant, and calm, their eyes shining like glass marbles. They carried no weapons today, which he took as a good sign. When he stepped off the ramp, one of them bowed slightly and spoke in a soft tone, welcoming him. Evan nodded politely and followed them through a long hall made of crystal-like stones. Everything around him looked alive, almost breathing, as tiny lines of light moved along the walls. He kept glancing around, trying not to stare too much, but every detail felt new and overwhelming as they walked. Evan kept thinking about the purpose of this trip. Both humans and Varelians had misunderstandings that grew larger over time. What started as small disagreements became political concerns. Space borders were questioned. Trade routes became complicated. Many leaders on Earth believed Varelia would someday turn into a threat. Many Varelians felt humans did not respect their customs. And because of all this tension, the situation had become fragile. A wrong step, a wrong word, or even a wrong expression could break the peace completely. Evan knew the pressure he carried. He was not just a diplomat. He represented billions of people. And today, he would stand before Queen Sorelith, the most respected leader on Varelia. The guards guided him toward the council hall, a huge chamber that seemed to stretch endlessly. The high ceiling looked like a night sky full of stars, though Evan guessed it was some kind of advanced technology. The floor beneath his feet shimmered like clear water but felt solid as stone. He tried to walk with confidence, even though his heart beat faster with every step. Then the main doors opened. A soft breeze moved through the room as the queen entered. Surrounded by advisors and elders, she walked with slow, graceful steps, her long robe glowing with blue lines that pulsed like flowing energy. Her face held a calm expression, but her presence was strong enough to make everyone turn silent. Even Evan felt a tightness in his throat as he bowed respectfully. Beside her stood Princess Ysera. Evan had heard about her, but had never seen her. She was slightly younger than he expected, with soft green markings on her skin that shimmered when the light touched them. Unlike her mother, who showed authority in every movement, Ysera looked quiet and thoughtful. Her eyes were gentle but observant, as if she was studying every detail around her. She offered Evan a small, polite smile, and he returned one, hoping he made a good first impression. Queen Sorelith raised her hand, and the hall settled completely. Her voice echoed with a natural authority as she greeted Evan, thanking him for traveling so far and acknowledging the effort humans had made to maintain communication. Evan responded carefully, expressing his hopes for lasting peace. He chose every word with caution, making sure not to sound demanding or defensive. The queen listened with interest, occasionally exchanging glances with her advisors. For a moment, the meeting seemed normal. They spoke about trade, communication systems, and the misunderstandings that had made the relationship between their species unstable. Evan felt relieved. Everything was going smoothly. He had expected a long negotiation, maybe even a difficult argument, but so far the queen appeared open and honest. He started to believe they might reach an agreement peacefully. Then, something changed. The queen paused unexpectedly. She looked at her daughter, then at Evan. Her eyes held a thoughtful, almost serious expression. The hall grew quiet, and Evan felt the tension shift in the room. Everyone waited. Even the guards bowed their heads slightly. As if preparing for something important, Queen Sorelith stepped forward. Her voice was firm, yet calm, as she spoke a sentence that froze Evan completely. "If you want peace, you will marry my daughter, human." Evan blinked. He opened his mouth slightly, but said nothing at first. His mind went blank. He wondered if he had misheard her. He replayed her words in his head again and again, but they did not change. She had clearly said it. He turned slightly to look at Lysera, who appeared just as surprised as he was. Her eyes widened, and she took a small step back. Glancing at her mother with confusion, the hall stayed silent, and comfortably silent. Evan's thoughts raced. Marriage? Peace. Was this a tradition? Was this symbolic? Was she serious? He could not ask immediately, or he might appear disrespectful. But he needed to understand what she meant. His heart pounded, and he could feel a bead of sweat on his neck. This was not part of any political training he had received. The Queen watched him calmly, as if this proposal was the most normal thing in the world. But for Evan, it was shocking beyond words. Before he could say anything, Lysera stepped forward. Her voice was soft but unsure as she asked her mother if this plan was necessary. Queen Sorelith nodded with quiet confidence. She explained that the bond between two leaders or representatives had been a long tradition in Varelian culture. When two worlds needed trust, they created a symbolic partnership through a ceremonial joining. She did not speak with pressure or force. She spoke with belief. To her, this was a respectful offer, not a demand. Evan listened carefully, trying to hide how overwhelmed he felt. He now understood that the marriage she spoke of might not be what humans considered marriage. It might be more like an alliance ceremony, a shared leadership vow, or a sign of trust. But the Queen's words had been so direct that anyone would be shocked. He finally gathered the courage to speak, asking politely for clarification. The Queen explained the tradition in greater detail. The bond she proposed was mainly symbolic, a promise between two representatives to maintain cooperation, unity, and peace. It was performed in the form of a joining ceremony, which humans might interpret as marriage, but the meaning was entirely cultural, not personal. Lysera nodded gently, confirming this explanation. She added that she had no idea her mother would propose this today. She seemed calm, but slightly embarrassed, yet she handled the moment with grace. She told Evan that she respected his choice, whatever it would be. Evan felt relieved that she was not pressured into this either. That made everything feel more open and honest. But the weight of the situation still sat heavily on his shoulders. He looked around the hall, noticing how everyone was waiting for his reaction. He tried to keep his voice steady as he thanked the Queen for her trust and requested a short time to think. The Queen agreed, instructing her advisors to guide him to a quiet area where he could rest and reflect. As he stepped away, he glanced at Lysera once more. She offered him a small, understanding smile, one that seemed to say she knew how overwhelming this moment was. Evan followed the advisors through a side passage, his mind spinning with thoughts. He had come expecting negotiations, not a cultural proposal of unity. He wondered what Earth would think. He wondered what Varelia expected, and he wondered what the right decision would mean for both worlds. All he knew was that nothing about this mission would be simple. The Queen's proposal had changed everything, and now the future of two planets rested on the choice he would soon have to make. Evan sat in the quiet resting chamber the Queen's advisors had shown him. The walls glowed with soft blue light, and a gentle humming sound filled the room, almost like a peaceful song. But even with such a calming environment, his thoughts were anything but calm. He kept replaying the Queen's words, "If you want peace, you will marry my daughter." He rubbed his forehead and exhaled slowly. He had prepared for long negotiations, maybe sharp debates, but not a proposal that carried such cultural weight. The idea of a symbolic joining was completely new to him. Humans had treaties, agreements, and diplomatic signatures, but they never tied peace to a partnership between representatives. He wondered if humanity had misunderstood Varelian culture all along. After a few minutes, he heard the door open softly. Princess Lysera stepped inside, her expression gentle but slightly unsure. She held her hands together, as if choosing her words carefully before speaking. "I hope I'm not disturbing you," she said in a soft voice. Evan shook his head quickly. "Not at all. I appreciate you coming." Lysera walked a little closer, leaving enough space to show respect, but enough closeness to show sincerity. Her calm presence helped him relax slightly. She looked as overwhelmed as he felt, though she hid it with grace. "I imagine you have many questions," she said, her voice warm but careful. "I do," Evan admitted. "I want to understand your mother's proposal. It was unexpected for me. I don't want to misinterpret anything." Lysera nodded thoughtfully. "I understand. Even for us, the idea can feel heavy when spoken so directly. But my mother was not asking for something personal or emotional. She was asking for a symbolic bond, one that represents trust between two sides." Evan leaned back slightly, listening closely. He appreciated that she didn't rush or pressure him. She spoke with the calmness of someone who cared about peace, not someone trying to force a decision. Lysera continued, "In our history, whenever two nations were in danger of conflict, their leaders performed a joining. It is not a marriage in the way humans see it. It is a pledge, a promise to protect communication, unity, and fairness." Evan nodded slowly. "So the word marriage. That is how humans might translate it, but the meaning is different." "Yes," Lysera replied. "The translation is imperfect. Our language uses one word for many types of bonds: political, ceremonial, and personal. My mother was speaking of a ceremonial one." That explanation eased some of the pressure Evan felt, but the weight of the moment still remained. Even if symbolic, the joining would make him a figure tied closely to Varelia's leadership. It was not something he could accept lightly. Lysera noticed his silence. Her voice softened even more. "My mother believes this bond can bring trust quickly. Our people are afraid. Your people are afraid. She thinks a symbolic gesture will calm both sides." Evan sighed quietly. "On Earth, many leaders might not understand this custom. They might think I was pressured or controlled." "I know," Lysera said with a small, understanding smile. "That is why she gave you the choice. She will accept whatever choice you make." Evan appreciated that. It meant the Queen respected him, even though her proposal was surprising. He could sense that Lysera was trying her best to help him understand rather than influence his decision. Lysera sat on a soft chair across from him. "When I was younger, I learned stories about the joining. It does not tie people forever like your human marriages. It is a partnership for leadership, for guiding peace. It means you are trusted enough to be part of important decisions. It does not demand anything beyond cooperation." Evan found that explanation comforting. He took a moment to breathe. "Your mother must really believe in this tradition." "She does," Lysera replied. "Our ancestors used it to prevent wars for generations. She thinks it will show our people that humans respect our ways, and she believes you can help guide our future talks." Evan looked at the glowing wall thoughtfully. "I want peace, truly, but I also want to make the right choice for both worlds. I don't want to do something humans misunderstand." Lysera nodded. "That is wise, and I want you to know something important." She paused before speaking again, her tone steady. "I will support your choice, whether you accept or decline. I don't want you to feel pressured just because my mother suggested it." Evan appreciated her honesty. It made the whole situation feel less heavy. The door opened again, and the Queen entered with her advisors. Her presence filled the room instantly, but her expression was calmer than before. She looked at Evan with respect. "I trust you have begun to understand the meaning of my proposal," she said gently. "Yes," Evan replied politely. "Your daughter explained it very well, but I still want to understand more. Why now? Why me?" Queen Sorelith nodded slowly. "Because our planets stand at a turning point. Fear has grown faster than trust. I chose you because you came here with an open mind. You showed respect from the moment you arrived. You listened. You observed. You did not judge our customs. That is rare." Evan felt a quiet warmth in his chest at her words. She was not praising him to flatter him. She truly believed what she said. The Queen continued, "A symbolic bond will show our people that you are not an outsider. It will show that you value peace enough to join hands with us. It is not a demand. It is an offering." Evan asked softly, "And if I decline, then we will still continue diplomatic discussions," the Queen assured him. "But the road will be slower. Some among our people may continue to doubt human intentions. I cannot force trust into their hearts, but a symbolic bond can open them more quickly." Evan appreciated her honesty. She was not trying to trap him. She was giving him a way to strengthen peace more rapidly. But she also made clear that declining would not destroy relations entirely. That helped him think more clearly. The queen gestured for Lysera to stand beside her. My daughter is prepared to fulfill her role in our tradition. But she also understands this is your choice. You are free to consider everything before giving your answer. Lysera nodded respectfully, showing calm confidence. Though Evan could sense she was also nervous, Queen Sorelith continued. Traditions guide us, but they must never limit freedom. You must make this decision with clarity. Evan felt grateful. He bowed lightly in respect. Then I asked for a little more time. I want to understand your culture further before choosing. The queen smiled gently. That is wise. And I will give you as much time as you need. She motioned to an advisor. Take Evan throughout the city. Show him our history, our customs, and our hopes. Let him see the roots of our traditions. Lysera stepped forward. May I guide him myself? Queen Sorelith considered it for a moment, then nodded with approval. Yes, let him learn through your eyes. You are the heart of this tradition. Evan felt a sense of relief. Lysera was peaceful, patient, and easy to speak with. If anyone could help him understand Virilia deeply, it was her. The queen bowed her head slightly. When you are ready, you may return with your answer. With that, she left the room, her advisors following behind her. Evan felt the pressure lighten slightly. Turned to Lysera, who offered him a soft smile. Come, she said kindly. There is much to see. An understanding always begins with walking through another's world. Evan nodded, feeling a mix of curiosity and determination. The decision ahead of him was important, but now he at least felt guided instead of overwhelmed. As they left the chamber together, the glowing hallways of Virilia opened before them. And Evan realized this journey was going to change his understanding of peace forever. Evan followed Lysera out of the chamber, still thinking about the queen's proposal. But now he felt more prepared to understand the meaning behind it. The hallways of Virilia stretched brightly before them, glowing with soft light that shifted like gentle waves. Lysera walked gracefully beside him, leaving quiet footprints on the floor that lit up for a moment before fading again. Everything about this place felt alive, peaceful, and thoughtful. Lysera turned to him with a calm smile. I thought we could begin with the Hall of Origins. It is where our history is kept. I believe it will help you understand why my mother values the joining tradition so deeply. Evan nodded politely. I would like that. The more I learn, the better I can understand what your people expect. As they walked, Evan noticed how other Virelians bowed their heads slightly when they saw Lysera. It wasn't fear or forced respect. It was genuine admiration. She responded to each gesture with a warm smile. Her kindness seemed to come naturally, and Evan appreciated her presence more and more. They reached a large door that opened silently as they approached. The Hall of Origins was breathtaking. The walls were made of crystal panels showing moving images like scenes from long ago. Some showed ancient landscapes, some showed early Virelian tribes, and others displayed peaceful gatherings. It was like walking through a museum that moved. Lysera stopped in front of a giant panel that displayed two groups standing opposite each other. They looked tense, unsure, and afraid. This was the first time our people faced conflict with another tribe, Lysera explained softly. Long ago, misunderstandings almost led to war. Our ancestors did not want violence. So the leaders of both tribes agreed to form a bond. They stood before their people and promised unity. That bond became the first joining ceremony. As she spoke, the moving images changed to show the leaders touching a glowing crystal together. Their tribes slowly relaxed and stepped forward to greet each other. Evan watched the display with respect. So the joining was created to prevent battles before they could begin. Yes, Lysera said. Our ancestors believed that if leaders trusted each other enough to share responsibility, then their people would trust each other too. Evan nodded slowly. He truly began to understand the meaning of the tradition. It wasn't about marriage or personal connection. It was about a symbol powerful enough to calm fear. Lysera guided him to the next section. A new image showed two planets drifting apart in space, connected by a beam of light. This was our first alliance with another world, she said. And again, a joining ceremony was performed. It helped both sides share technology, culture, and peace. Evan felt a sense of respect growing inside him. The Varelians were not careless. They had used this tradition carefully through history, trusting only those they believed were willing to work for harmony. Lysera turned to him gently. This is why my mother believes this tradition can help us. Our people feared that humans may not understand our ways. A joining would be a promise, a sign that both sides stand together. Evan listened closely, but part of him still felt the pressure of expectations. It's a beautiful tradition, Lysera, but I worry that humans will see it differently. They may misunderstand the meaning and think I agreed to something personal. Lysera nodded thoughtfully. I understand that. And I agree, it will be difficult. But that is why your decision matters. If you choose the joining, you can explain its meaning to your people. If you choose not to, that is also honorable. There is no wrong choice, only the one you feel is right. Her reassurance helped more than she realized. They continued walking deeper into the hall until they reached a large window overlooking the city. The view was spectacular. Buildings shaped like spirals rose into the sky. Bridges glowed with soft light. And in the distance, a group of children played near floating spheres that changed colors when touched. Evan smiled at the sight. Your world is beautiful, peaceful. Lysera followed his gaze. It is because we work hard to keep it that way. But fear has begun to grow recently. Some Varelians believe humans want too much control. Some think humans judge too quickly. Others fear that contact with Earth will weaken our traditions. Evan understood those worries. Humans also have fears. Some worry your technology is too strong. Others think your ways are too unfamiliar. Yes, Lysera said softly. Fear comes from not understanding. That is why traditions like the joining were made to replace fear with trust. Evan thought about this as they left the Hall of Origins and walked into the open air. The sky above them shifted from blue to gold, as if the sun were glowing through a prism. A warm breeze brushed against them. Lysera led him to a garden with tall plants that shone in gentle purple. Birds with translucent wings flew around, leaving trails of tiny sparks behind them. This is the Garden of Echoes, Lysera said. It is where leaders often reflect before making important decisions. Evan looked around with awe. The whole garden felt alive, whispering softly in the wind. It's peaceful. I can see why it's used for reflection. Lysera walked beside him, her steps slow and thoughtful. I know this choice is not easy for you, and I want you to know something important. The joining is not meant to tie you to me personally. It is meant to tie our worlds together. You would still be yourself. You would still be human, and your freedom would remain. Evan appreciated her honesty. She wasn't trying to convince him with promises. She was simply sharing truth. He stopped near a glowing plant that seemed to respond to his presence, its light brightening slightly. I'm not afraid of losing freedom. I'm more afraid of making the wrong choice. If I agree, but don't fully understand the tradition, I might make mistakes. And if I refuse, the peace might become fragile again. Lysera nodded. Your worry shows that you are thoughtful, and that is a good sign. No decision made with care is wrong. They continued walking until they reached a small bridge over a stream of shimmering water. It made soft musical sounds as it flowed. Evan leaned on the railing, looking into the water. Do you think your people will accept me if I agree? He asked quietly. Lysera stood beside him. Many will. Some may take time, but the joining would show them that you respect our ways. And respect is the first step to trust. Evan exhaled slowly. And what about you? How do you feel about this tradition? Lysera paused, thinking deeply. I believe in peace, and I believe in working together. If the joining can help our worlds avoid fear and misunderstanding, then I am willing to take part in it. But I do not wish for you to agree just for that reason. I want you to do what feels right for your heart and your people. Her honesty touched him. She wasn't forcing him. She wasn't even encouraging him strongly. She simply wanted clarity and fairness. They continued through the city for hours, exploring homes, marketplaces, and learning centers. Everywhere they went, Varelians greeted Lysera warmly, and many looked at Evan with curiosity and not fear. This gave him hope. People were open-minded when given a chance. As the sky slowly shifted to evening colors, Evan walked with Lysera back toward the palace. He felt more knowledgeable now, more aware of what the joining meant. But the decision remained difficult. Lysera turned to him softly. "You do not have to decide tonight. Take your time. We will support your choice." Evan nodded gratefully. "Thank you. Today helped more than you know. I see the tradition differently now." Lysera smiled. Then the day was worth it. They entered the palace gates as the evening lights began to glow. Evan felt the weight of the decision still on his shoulders. But now, the pressure was mixed with understanding something he didn't have before. Tomorrow, he would face the queen again. Tomorrow, he would have to decide. But for the first time, he knew he wasn't alone in understanding the path ahead. The next morning, Evan woke earlier than expected. His mind was full of thoughts, but for the first time since he arrived on Varelia, those thoughts were calm. The long walk with Lysera the previous day had helped him understand the weight of the decision and the meaning behind it. Still, choosing was not easy. The choice would affect not only him, but also two entire worlds. He stood near the large crystal window in his guest chamber. Outside, the sun was rising in soft layers of gold and blue. The city below was beginning to move shops, opening their glowing entrances. People walking across light-filled bridges, and children heading to learning centers. Everything felt peaceful, as if the whole world hoped today would bring something good. A gentle knock sounded at his door. "You may enter," Evan said. Lysera stepped inside. Wearing calm colors that blended with the morning light, she smiled kindly. "Good morning, Evan. My mother asked me to bring you to the Hall of Unity when you are ready." Evan nodded, taking a deep breath. I think I'm ready to talk to her." Lysera's eyes softened. "Whatever you decide, you have shown courage simply by trying to understand us. That already means a great deal." Her words gave him strength, and together they walked through the tall hallways of the palace. Servants and council members greeted them with polite bows. The air felt slightly warm, carrying a quiet energy that hinted something important was about to happen. When they reached the entrance of the Hall of Unity, the doors opened with a soft, melodic tone. The room was large, with high ceilings that shimmered with star-like lights. The floor was designed with circular patterns representing unity and balance. At the far end stood Queen Seralith, surrounded by a few advisors, but looking calm and welcoming. Evan walked forward, feeling his heartbeat quicken. Lysera remained a step behind him, giving him space to speak. The queen greeted him with a gentle nod. "Evan, I trust you rested well." "I did," he replied respectfully. "And I spent a long time thinking. I understand your tradition better now." The queen's expression remained warm. "And have you reached a decision?" Evan inhaled deeply. "Yes, I choose to accept the joining ceremony. Not because I feel pressured, but because I believe it will bring trust between our worlds. I want peace, and I want to show my people that understanding is possible." The queen's eyes softened with gratitude. Lysera smiled quietly behind him, her relief clear but gentle. "Your choice honors our traditions," the queen said, "and your willingness to understand us will not be forgotten." Evan felt a mixture of relief and responsibility settle inside him. The decision had been made, but now the ceremony had to be prepared. The queen raised a hand, and advisors stepped closer. "We must begin the arrangements. The Bond of Stars ceremony is not only a tradition, but a symbol. Representatives of both worlds must witness it." Evan listened carefully as she explained the steps. The ceremony had 3 parts. The offering of light, where both sides presented a symbol of their world. The shared promise, where both pledged cooperation and unity. The binding of stars, a gentle ritual in which a glowing thread connected their symbols, representing the bond between worlds. Nothing about it felt forced or personal. It was simply a meaningful cultural act. The queen turned to Lysera. "You will guide Evan through the preparations." Lysera nodded respectfully. "Of course, mother." As they walked out of the hall, Evan let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Lysera noticed immediately. You made a brave choice, she said softly, and I believe your people will understand once you explain it to them. I hope so, Evan replied. This tradition, it's beautiful. I want humans to see that, Lysera smiled. Then let us prepare. They headed to a chamber filled with glowing artifacts. This was where Evan needed to choose a symbol from his world, a representation of humanity. The room stored objects that humans had sent during earlier exchanges: books, models, stones, artistic pieces, and small devices. Lysera walked beside him. Your symbol should represent what humanity values most. It can be something simple. What matters is the meaning. Evan looked at the items carefully. Eventually, one object caught his eye, small metal globe of Earth. It wasn't fancy, but it held deep meaning. This, he said, lifting it gently, this represents home. But more importantly, it represents our hope to reach for peace across worlds. Lysera smiled approvingly. It is perfect. She selected her symbol too, a crystal shaped like a rising star. It was clear and bright, glowing softly with shifting colors. This represents our belief in guidance, she explained. It is one of our oldest symbols. Once the symbols were chosen, preparations for the ceremony moved quickly. Varelians decorated the Hall of Unity with floating lights and gentle music. Representatives from across the planet arrived, wearing traditional clothing that shimmered like starlight. Hours later, Evan found himself standing at the entrance of the vast hall again. Lysera stood beside him, wearing a ceremonial robe of soft silver. Evan wore a formal outfit provided by the Varelians, simple, respectful, and comfortable. You ready? Lysera asked quietly, noticing the slight nervousness on his face. As ready as I can be, he answered with a small smile. The doors opened, and a soft breeze brushed past them. All eyes turned toward them, but the room was filled with warmth rather than tension. As they walked forward, the music changed into a gentle melody that flowed through the hall, like wind through trees. They reached the center of the circular symbol. The queen stepped forward. Today, she announced, her voice clear and steady, we honor a tradition that has kept peace among our people for generations. Two worlds stand here not as strangers, but as partners in unity. Evan held the small globe of Earth in his hands. Lysera held her rising star crystal. Together, they placed their symbols on a pedestal of glowing stone. The offering of light had begun. Evan spoke first. This represents Earth, a world full of struggle, hope, and dreams. I offer it with respect and with a desire for harmony. Lysera followed. This crystal represents Varelia's guidance. We offer it as a promise to work toward understanding and peace. The queen raised her hands. A soft beam of light connected the two symbols, forming a glowing thread of shimmering silver. This light, she said, is the symbol of trust. May it connect our worlds with clarity. Evan felt calm as the light grew brighter. It wasn't binding him. It was connecting their hopes. Now came the shared promise. Lysera turned to him. Evan Carter of Earth, do you promise to seek understanding, to share knowledge, and to guide peace between our worlds? Evan nodded firmly. I do. I promise to work for peace and respect. Then it was his turn. Lysera of Varelia, do you promise to work beside me in building trust and unity between our people? Lysera placed a hand over her heart. I promise. The hall brightened with soft golden light. The final step had arrived. For the binding of stars, Evan and Lysera placed their hands near the symbols. The glowing thread of light slowly wrapped around the globe and the crystal, joining them gently. It wasn't a chain. It wasn't a force. It was a sign of connection. The hall erupted in warm, hopeful applause. The queen stepped closer, her eyes shining with pride. From this moment, Earth and Varelia walk a shared path of peace. Let the stars witness this unity. Evan felt a deep calm inside him. The ceremony had been simple, respectful, and meaningful. Nothing about it felt heavy or personal. It was exactly what he hoped it would, be a peaceful joining of cultures. Lysera turned to him with a bright smile. You did well. So did you, Evan replied, as they walked out of the hall together. The glowing pathway before them felt like the beginning of a new journey, not just for them, but for two entire worlds. And for the first time since he arrived on Virilia, Evan felt truly hopeful about the future. Evan stood on the high balcony of the Virelian palace, looking out at the glowing city below. Tall silver towers stretched upward, catching the soft light of the twin moons. Floating bridges moved slowly through the air, carrying groups of peaceful citizens who celebrated the new alliance. Music played in the distance, soft, warm, and full of hope. For the first time in many months, Evan felt calm in his heart. He had taken a big step by agreeing to the Bond of Stars ceremony, and now the real work of building peace had begun. Princess Lysera stepped onto the balcony beside him. She wore a simple white robe, nothing like the ceremonial outfit she had worn during the ritual. Tonight she looked relaxed, almost like a friend who had known him for years. She followed his gaze across the city and smiled gently. "Everyone seems happy," she said softly. "They deserve to be," Evan replied. Both our worlds needed this moment. For a few seconds, they simply enjoyed the peaceful silence. The cool wind brushed past them, carrying the scent of Virelian flowers, fresh and calming. Evan breathed deeply, realizing how much he had changed since coming to this planet. At first, everything had felt strange and dangerous. Now, it felt almost familiar. Lysera turned toward him. "There is something I want to show you," she said. "It is important for the future." Evan nodded, trusting her completely. They walked through the large hallway, where guards bowed respectfully as they passed. Like before, their expressions were friendly. Many of them had seen Evan participate in the ceremony, and now looked at him as an ally, not an outsider. Evan felt a new responsibility settle on his shoulders. He knew peace was not guaranteed, had to be built slowly. Step by step, Lysera led him into a quiet room with a large round table in the center. Holographic symbols floated above it, glowing in blue and gold. Several Virelian advisors stood around the table, and when Evan entered, they greeted him warmly. Queen Serelith was also there. Her calm face softened when she saw him. "We have something to discuss," she said. "Your role as a bridge between our worlds begins now." Evan stepped closer, listening carefully. The hologram shifted, showing maps of both planets, trade routes, communication towers, and scientific plans. There were projects planned for decades ahead. "Peace is not just a word," the Queen continued. "It is work, it is patience, it is understanding. Now that the bond is formed, we can begin the real partnership." Lysera pointed at a glowing line connecting the two planets. "We want to build a direct communication network between Earth and Virelia," she explained. "No more long delays, no more mistrust caused by slow messages." Evan studied the plans. A faster communication system would allow both worlds to solve problems quickly. There would be no confusion, no lost messages, no rumors that created fear. It was smart and necessary. "Earth will agree to this," Evan said. "I'll make sure of it." The Queen nodded. There is more. Next, advisors showed a plan for educational exchange programs. Humans would visit Virelia to learn their technology and culture. Virelians would travel to Earth to understand human history and science. Young students from both worlds would grow up with shared knowledge instead of fear. Evan felt impressed. "This will change everything for the next generation." "That is the goal," Lysera replied with a proud smile. Then they showed joint scientific missions researching new energy sources, studying the stars together and building a giant observatory that both species could use. The Queen looked at Evan thoughtfully. "Your presence made this possible. Before you came, both sides expected conflict. Now they expect cooperation." Evan felt a warm sense of responsibility. He knew people on Earth would be surprised to hear how much Virelians wanted peace. But it was his job to explain, to build trust, and to make sure misunderstandings didn't lead to problems again. After the long meeting, the advisors left one by one. The Queen placed a gentle hand on Evan's shoulder. "You chose the path of peace," she said, "and because of that, our worlds have hope." Evan bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty." I will do everything I can to honor the trust you have given me." The queen smiled softly, then left the room, leaving Evan and Lysera alone. Lysera looked at him with thoughtful eyes. "Do you feel overwhelmed?" she asked. "Maybe a little," he answered honestly. "But it's a good kind of overwhelming." She laughed gently. "I understand. When I was younger, I used to think peace was something leaders just announced and the world magically followed. Now I know it takes constant work." "Does," he said. "But at least we're working together." Lysera nodded. "It's together." They walked back toward the balcony, where the celebration lights still danced across the city. Evan noticed groups of families gathering in the streets, children running with glowing lanterns, and older citizens blessing the night sky. The planet was alive with joy, and it made Evan feel even more committed to protecting this newfound peace. "Tomorrow," Lysera said, "we begin our first journey together." "Journey?" Evan asked. Yevon asked double quotes. "Yes. We will travel to Earth to meet your leaders and show them the plans. They need to see our sincerity. They need to know that Varelia wants friendship, not tension." Evan imagined the expression on Earth's officials' faces when they saw Princess Lysera stepping out of the Varelian spaceship by his side. It would be a historic moment, one that people would remember forever. "I hope Earth welcomes you warmly," Evan said. Lysera looked at him with confidence. "With you guiding the way, I believe they will." That night, Evan returned to his guest quarters. He packed his things slowly, thinking about all that had happened since he arrived here. He remembered the first day, the uncertainty, the fear, the sense of pressure. Now everything felt different. He had found understanding, trust, and a strong purpose. He had formed a bond with Lysera not just because of the ceremony, but through shared experiences and truthful conversations. Early the next morning, the Varelian spaceship prepared for departure. It was large, elegant, and shaped like a curved wing. Its surface glowed softly, reflecting the light of the rising suns. A group of citizens gathered to witness their departure. The queen stood at the front, her expression proud and hopeful. As Evan and Lysera walked up the ramp, the queen called out, "Carry our hopes with you." "We will," Lysera answered firmly. Inside the ship, the seats were comfortable, and the walls displayed calming patterns that shifted like gentle waves. Evan sat beside Lysera as the engines began to hum softly. The ship lifted smoothly into the sky, leaving the palace, the city, and the beautiful world below. Evan watched through the window as Varelia slowly became smaller, then turned into a glowing sphere floating in space. He felt a small ache in his chest. Not sadness, but a strong connection to the world he had come to respect deeply. Lysera noticed his expression. "You will return often," she said. "This is not goodbye," he smiled. "I hope so." Their journey through space lasted only a few hours, thanks to advanced Varelian technology. When Earth finally appeared in the window, a familiar blue planet surrounded by clouds of awe felt a rush of emotion. He wondered how people would react to the new alliance. The ship landed in a secured area, where human officials waited nervously. When the door opened, Evan stepped out first. The officials looked relieved to see him safe. Then Lysera stepped forward with calm grace, and everyone stared in amazement. Evan introduced her politely. "This is Princess Lysera of Varelia. She comes in peace and friendship." Lysera bowed slightly. "Your world and mine share the same wish for harmony." Officials led them inside for discussions. Hours passed as they reviewed plans, asked questions, and listened to Lysera's thoughtful explanations. By the end of the meeting, the officials were visibly impressed. The alliance was accepted. Both worlds agreed to move forward together. When Evan and Lysera stepped outside again, the sun was setting. The sky was painted with orange and gold colors. Lysera gazed at it with amazement. "Your sunsets are beautiful," she said. "So are new beginnings," Evan replied. Together they looked out at the horizon, knowing their journey had just started. The bond between Earth and Varelia was now stronger than ever, and the future stretched out before them bright, peaceful, and full of promise. Their partnership had changed not only their worlds, but also themselves. And as Evan stood beside Lysera, he felt certain that the choice he made the choice that once shocked him, had become one of the most important and hopeful moments in history.